Okay, these sessions are recorded. You can retrieve these sessions from our YouTube channel, which is Career Innovations, all one word. Depending on how you logged in, you can ask questions one or two ways. You can raise your hand and verbally ask your question if you entered your audio pin through the login. Or if you like to remain anonymous or you just don't want to verbally ask, you can use the chat feature at the bottom of your actual panel that you're given. When I get started, I like to do about a 30-second overview of who Career Innovations is, who we are, who I am. I'm the Director of Staffing and Recruiting for Career Innovations. I'm also the founder of the organization. We find unconventional and untraditional methods to find top talent. We do use an innovative approach, and one of my passions is organizational change. I really truly believe that, and I've said this in many workshops, that the foundation for attracting and retaining top talent is through the organizational culture. It starts with the company's core values. Some of the things that we do offer besides staffing and recruiting is compensation, benchmarking, referral and retention workshops, and something that you're participating in now, job seeker training. We also do HR training as well. One of my favorite quotes, I actually have this quote or another quote on my LinkedIn profile, is good is the enemy of great. Few people obtain great lives, partly because it's just so easy to settle for a good one. This is from Jim Collins' actual book, It's Good to Great, and it talks about different companies that made the transition and some that didn't, from being maybe something that was a small organization to one of these Fortune 500 companies. I also like it because it gives people a sense of what has to be done and what changes may have to be made and sacrifices that may have to be acknowledged to be able to reach greatness. So we're going to talk about putting the action in your plan, and as you can see in the picture, this is knock out the competition. We did get a question, but I'm going to also go over the agenda that we have going on here. I did have someone that asked me about marketing themselves and putting together a plan, and it's more about not only putting together a plan but also putting the action into it. There are people out there that may have a plan in place, but just don't know how to execute it, or they're just executing it either sporadically or they don't have any type of organization in making these things come to fruition. So we're going to talk about that as well. So the agenda is going to be talking about the blueprint of a job seeker's plan, the 6 steps to a job search, self-marketing strategies, selling a solution, and closing the deal. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about. As you can see on the slide, we're going to, for the first one, we're going to talk about some of the components that are in a job seeker's plan. If you haven't put one together or you don't know what one is, we're also going to talk about the steps that you need to take before you can even put together a realistic executable plan of action. So see how I use the word realistic. So a lot of people may put together a plan but don't know how they're going to execute it, maybe because they have some very unattainable goals in there. So you want to make sure that you're putting something in there that's realistic, that you can really strive to accomplish. Next, we're going to talk about a marketing plan. You want to know that you're going to be able to reach out not to only decision makers, but market yourself to the best of your ability. So this involves putting together some type of marketing plan that's going to make you an asset to the organization. Selling a solution is going to come into play with the marketing plan. You want to be able not to only sell yourself, be able to sell some type of value and how you're going to solve the problem for an organization. And finally, we're going to talk about closing the deal. And it composed of not only what you say to close the deal, but also what you do. And I've talked about this in past workshops. Closing the deal doesn't necessarily mean getting a yes. It could be getting that no quicker. You necessarily may not get a yes, but it's about, not wasting your time. How can I get some type of answer to move forward so I'll know that I'm not going to spin my wheels with this one particular company that may not have any intentions of hiring you. So you want to make sure that you're doing that as well. Let's first look at the blueprint. The blueprint is your preliminary plan. This is the plan that you're going to put in place. This is your overall layout, your target companies. Your preliminary plan is also going to include any type of resume or cover letter updates that you may need, any career portfolios, getting together your references and recommendations. All this is composed of putting together your preliminary plan. What you do with this information will go to the next steps in executing your action plan. So you want to make sure that you're getting this stuff together. You want to know where you're going to go, how you're going to get there. And the first thing you need to know is, what information do I want to market to potential employers? That takes you to an effective marketing plan. Twitter has mastered the concept of simplicity by allowing, characters of 140 characters or less. You want to be able to put together some type of plan that, if asked on the spot, you can tell people what you do and how you do it using 1 or 2 sentences. To be honest with you, I know a lot of career centers and everyone pitches a 30-second elevator speak, but what if you don't have 30 seconds? What if what if it's a quick meet and greet? So you want to make sure that you can put out some marketing, some very marketable traits to someone by using a sentence or 2. You also want to know how to introduce yourself. Again, being in a referral-based firm, I come across many people that, when I do have a rough introduction and I get their resume, there are a lot of things that are left out that I have to go and probe and ask different questions to get some of the skills that should be readily available on their resume. Or, being honest with you, this should have been the first thing they broadcast, because this is their selling point. So you want to make sure that you know your marketable skills. And I think the reason why people aren't marketing themselves to the best of their ability, they don't know what to market. They don't know what's marketable about them. And that's something that you need to figure out by looking at some of the competitive research tools that are available. This means that going out there, seeing some of the tools that are being used to get yourself in front of decision makers. And once you do that, you want to start building relationships, selling yourself, closing the deal. It doesn't have to be a deal as far as a job. It can be a closing the deal on a relationship that may last a lifetime. Follow-up process, something to keep yourself in front of the decision maker, and also the feedback. If they do tell you a no, or you haven't heard from them in a while, get feedback. This is something that you're going to need to be able to alter that plan, figure out what's working and what you're wasting your time with. 6 steps to a job search. The 6 steps that we're going to talk about today is doing an assessment, researching your career goals, lay out some type of plan of action. You want to develop a strategy. You also want to be able to prepare. And finally, you want to execute. So when we talk about having an assessment, this is not just an assessment of what job you want. This is an assessment of your entire professional career. What do you value? Deep down inside, if you were to take on another job or move forward with the company, you want to look at the entire company as a whole. Is this something that someone or something I can do? Is this the organization that has the same belief system as me? Or is this a position I'll just only probably be at it for a couple of months and move on? This is the decisions that you have to look. You have to make sure that you're making a difference, not only making a difference, but also making a difference as far as your career goes. What are your core strengths? What does this mean for you professionally if you do take a position? Some of these questions may seem kind of cliche, but honestly, a lot of people aren't looking into this. This may take some serious soul searching. I've seen a lot of people take a totally different career direction after they've done a honest assessment. I use the word honest because some people, they don't honestly know what they want to do. They do what they know, but they don't know that, hey, I can do something else. What are the steps I can take to do that? That goes back to researching your career goals. You want to look at the product or service that an industry actually offers, and how do you or the role that you're applying to plays a part in that. You want to look at the major players. Who's the people that get this organization off the ground? Who's making the hiring decisions? You also want to look at the outlook for the potential hiring for this, not only industry, but for the company. Do you want to apply to a company that has massive layoffs every other year? Again, this takes research that you're going to have to do on your own. Also, you want to have some type of plan of action in place. How do you plan to get yourself in front of these decision makers? You know, what are some techniques and tools that you're going to use? And again, if you've been out of the workforce for a while, this may be something new to you. You may need help. Maybe you need that one-on-one attention with somebody that can actually sit down and put together some type of plan of action. You want to develop a strategy once you do have the tools in place. You want to make sure that you're preparing, and you want to make sure that you can execute this. And again, it goes back to being honest with yourself and putting together some type of realistic goal that you want to reach. You know, if you're going to be applying to jobs, make a realistic goal. Hey, I'm only going to apply to 3 jobs a day. That may not be a lot, because I know some people that apply to, hey, I sit at the computer and apply to 20 or 30 jobs a day. You know, and if the applications aren't that long, I probably can squeeze in 50. You know, but it goes back to quantity versus quality. You know, are you just slamming your resume to these companies and not doing any follow-up? 3 companies, you may get a hit from 1 just by thoroughly applying to 3. What I mean by that, you've already researched the company, you know the decision makers. Not only have you applied online, you reached to the decision makers individually. You've asked for that informational interview. You met up with that employer. As you can see, that a lot goes into just applying to 1 company. So it takes a little bit longer versus applying to 50 that you may not hear from. And I tell people to unplug and take it offline, because I'm finding that it's very, very hard nowadays to compete with the 200 or 300 applications that are in that ATS system. So you want to find other avenues to get the attention of that employer. So again, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So instead of applying to 50 jobs a day, you might can apply to 3 or 4, but you're applying to them very thoroughly. You're doing like I said, you're putting in that plan of action. One of the questions that was asked, what is the best way to compensate for the lack of experience for a role that is slightly out of reach? So this tells me that a person may be applying to a job that, it may be a couple things on there that they don't have the experience for. They may see the job description and say, well, I have everything else but these 2 things or these 3 things. I'm going to tell you how to approach that. And keep in mind, I tell people that apply to jobs, it don't have to be 100% match, because not going to be a person out there that may meet every single criteria. That's why they have the requirements, and then they have a section for preferences. So make sure if you are applying to a job that you at least meet anywhere from, I would say, 75 to 80% of the job qualifications or requirements. Employers can be lenient, if times are tight, but you want to make sure that you at least meet the bulk of the requirements, not the preferences, but the requirements. First thing you want to do is do your homework. This goes back to, what are they actually asking for that you don't have? Is this something that's critical for the job to be done? It's totally different from asking someone to have a particular skill set that you can learn on the way versus someone having a particular certification that requires you by law. So we're talking about making sure the requirements are realistic not to have to do this job. Case in point, if you're applying to be an engineer, they may ask you to have a PE. Not because they just want you to have a PE, and for those that are not in engineering, a PE is a professional engineering license. A professional engineering license allows engineers to write off on different legal documents. So this may be something that they prefer. In some cases, hey, this is required. We need someone that can sign off on these documents. So you have to be able to weigh that, is this something that they prefer? Can I get it after I get the job? Or is this something that going in the door, I need to be ready to sign off on documents in a legal way? So you want to make sure you're doing your homework and making sure the requirements are necessary to execute the job. Next thing you want to do, you want to get training. If it's something that can be, that's trainable, that you've been exposed to. There's a lot of things I see out there that, hey, I'm not an expert with, but I know about it. I know the gist of it. I know how it works. They may ask me to, you need to be a guru at a particular software that I may not, I've heard of. I know how it works. But do I work with it on an everyday basis? No. exposed to it. I have a little experience, but I'm not a guru. That means I can get training in that. In fact, I wouldn't even let the employer know that you're kind of on the line, kind of on the fence about that type of experience. Get the experience or training that you need and prove that you know how to do it. That's what I tell people to do. This means if it takes talk about getting online classes, YouTube tutorials, you can go on, I think it's called Academy or Udemy. There's so many online courses that you can take absolutely free. And if people log in next week, I'm actually going to have a slide for free education where you can actually get free courses and expand your professional knowledge for absolutely no cost, other than having a strong internet connection. You can get the training on some of the skills that they're asking you to have. So I wouldn't be so quick just to tell them I don't know it. Learn it and prove to them that, hey, you may not have known it before you interviewed, but you know it now. So don't be so quick to tell them that you don't have the experience. Find a way to get the training, get the exposure. Next, this goes to showcase your references. If it's in the past that someone can vouch for you, and this is the best way to do it. Sometimes, hearing it from someone else sells you. So if you know someone that you work with, doesn't have to be a direct supervisor. It can be a coworker. It can be someone that knows your work ethic. They can say, hey, this person can vouch for me. References speak volumes. So if you can get someone to vouch for your experience, that's going to be something that's going to outshine anything that you say, because now you have a co-signer. And sometimes having someone give that recommendation or give that reference speaks volumes more than what you can do for yourself. Next thing, we're going to also talk about exude confidence. So when you're in the interview, this can also go by body language, even the tone of voice, how it fluctuates when they talk about something that you may not be comfortable to talk about. And this may be a particular skill set that you're lacking. They can tell in your voice or even in your body language whether or not, if this is something you're comfortable with doing. So you want to make sure that you're exuding confidence at all times, even if it's something that you don't know. And I've actually talked about this, about one of my examples I had with someone I worked with. They got training on YouTube, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but I know I mentioned in a session a long time ago, and I'm going to bring it up again. I had someone I was working with that they required a particular certification, and at this time this person wasn't working, didn't have the money to pay the outstanding training for this certification. Again, this was in the IT realm. So if anybody knows IT, these IT certifications, some of these can go from $1,500 to $2,000 a pop. These aren't cheap certifications, especially the training. So this person didn't have that type of capital to go to school for this, and they actually self-taught themselves by some of the things I'm going to share with you next week on how to get free training and actually how to look up different types of workshops and videos that can help you put together some of the skill sets that these companies require. Self-taught themselves, came up with the money to take the test. A lot of the money is not in the certification, is in the training. Sometimes you can just, as long as you know it, you can pay. Some of these tests may range from $100 to $200. Some may be as high as $500, but that's cheaper than $2,000. So some of them, if you know it, you can test for it. Sometimes it's the training that costs more than the actual certification. So after he self-trained himself this particular certification, he went ahead and, scraped up the money to just take the test, passed the test, and was certified. Never got any brick or mortar training other than the discipline to sit down and teach himself this particular software programming language. It was actually a programming language that he needed to know for some jobs that he was applying to. Once he passed that test, he was certified. And once he was able to put that on his resume, and now when companies asked him, hey, do you have this certification, he could say yes. This was something that he did. He actually exuded this confidence in the interview, after he self-taught himself this and was able to get a job. So you want to make sure that you're not shying away from it. And again, it goes back to point one. do your homework first. This is something that is quick to learn it. So when you do get the interviews and you put this on your resume that you have this experience, you can speak with confidence, and they're going to be able to hear that in your voice and see that in your body language. Next thing, you want to make sure that you're prepared or get exposure. And what I mean by that is, say you get the training, sometimes they want hands-on experience, not so much as, hey, a certification. Hey, when have you implemented this skill? Get some exposure, which means that find some way that you can implement this skill set that you can put on your resume, which means that if a particular skill set asks you to have a particular skill, see if you can volunteer and use that skill set at one of these nonprofits. See if you can partner with someone or get a mentor to help you to use that particular skill set. Like a software, I've seen that if you go on some of these nonprofits, they have different jobs they want people to do for free. Look up a job that requires that skill set and offer your time. It doesn't have to be a full-time 40-hour-a-week thing. It could be something that you only do once or twice a month, you know. But hey, you can still put it on your resume. Hey, I did this with XYZ nonprofit. You know, that's when I use this particular skill set. They don't have to know that you taught yourself it, you know, and then after you use that skill set at that nonprofit or whatever partnership that you have, make sure you get a reference that's going to also co-sign that, yes, this person did work and use that particular skill set. So that's another way that you can compensate for lack of experience. Next thing, and I think is after you've done all this, and sometimes even if you don't do any of this, I think the last one is going to be pretty much the most important one, and I'm pretty sure you heard it before, building relationships. I think relationships trumps experience every day of the week. You know, and how that may sound to some is, you know, oh no, I've seen people that had no experience get hired, you know, just because they knew someone. So at the end of the day, I really truly believe if you build the right relationship with the right person, they don't care what experience you have or lack thereof. You know, and this is coming from someone that's been doing this for almost a decade. I've seen it happen. I've seen people with no experience walk in the door in a managerial position just because they knew the right person. You know, so I really do think relationships can trump all of this. You know, but at the end of the day, you do want to make sure that, you know, in everything you do, that you're building solid relationships with people. And again, this is how you're going to get those references. This is how you're going to get that exposure. Next question is about marketing yourself. What is your marketing strategy? How do you market yourself to potential employers? What techniques are you using besides applying online? And I've covered this in past workshops, like I said, because some of the questions, well, the 2 questions I received, this is pretty much going to be kind of an overview of some Q&A sessions I may have done in the past. So what's your marketing strategy? You want to make sure that you're putting in place something that's going to honor the 4, now 5 P's, and that's going to be your product, price, promotion, place, and positioning. You know, so now I'm pretty sure everyone, especially if you're in any type of marketing and sales position, you know about the 5 P's. In some cases, it's the 4 P's, but you want to make sure that you're putting the P's in your job searching. You want to know, you know, and some people may say, how is this related? You know, we're not a particular tangible object. You're not. But at the same thing, you're offering something that is tangible. Either you're offering, you know, you're offering a product, which is yourself. Hey, I'm going to come to work for you. You're definitely offering some type of service for compensation. So at the same time, you know, you may not be a company, but you're someone that's marketing for some compensation in return. So you want to make sure that you are putting the 4 to 5 P's in your marketing strategy. How do you do that? Your self-marketing strategy, are you missing the mark? You know, your product, what do you have to offer? What makes your skills and attributes unique? What value can you bring to an organization? You know, so that's the product. The product is you. You know, what are you offering? What's going to make you different from everyone else that's applying? The price. Price is your salary, your compensation, what you're bringing home. Before you can tell people what your price is, you want to make sure that you know the marketplace. You want to make sure you know the market rate. What is the value or what is your value in the marketplace? So it goes back to product. Based on what you're offering, how much is it valued in the current marketplace? You know, what are they paying people that hold that particular type of skill set? You know, what salaries are being offered? You know, make sure that you're putting in your educational background, experience, any type of professional strengths. This is going to justify the price. In your case, this is going to justify the compensation. You know, so you just can't ask for it. Show me why you should get it. You know, so that's price. Promotion. What message do you want to get across? How will you get your message to decision makers, and what are you currently doing now to promote yourself? You know, again, it goes back to, besides applying online, what else are you doing? Are you picking up the phone? Are you sending emails? Are you attending networking events? You know, are you a part of a professional associations geared towards your industry? You know, are you asking for informational interviews? Are you asking for 15 minutes of people's time? You know, so how are you being able to promote yourself? You know, your place. How will you deliver yourself to this particular marketplace? You know, what is your method of delivery now? You know, this goes back to, are you networking at volunteering? You know, what events do you have in your calendar currently? You know, how do you plan to network and reach out to people? So distribution means basically what's the vehicle you're using to promote yourself. You know, it's one thing to know your message, but how you're going to actually distribute it out there. You know, it may be social media. If you're a social media guru, are you setting up accounts that you're sending out articles and interest to decision makers, so people can say, hey, this person has a point, or hey, this person's a guru in this particular area. You know, are you reaching out via telephone? You know, are you reaching out via, like I said, association or professional meetings or events? Volunteer work, nonprofit boards. What is your vehicle and positioning? How do you position yourself in the industry or community? What is your visibility? Which means that how well known are you in this particular vertical or this particular sector? When I think of XYZ, do I think of you? You know, when I type in this particular keyword, is your name or your photo or your profile the first thing that pops up? These are things that determine, you know, where you are, where you stand, or where you're positioned in a particular industry. So you want to look at that as well. How visible are you? Can I find your resume online? Can I find your profile online? Are you anonymous? Are you hiding behind a empty blank picture on LinkedIn? So I don't know. I know some people that have anonymous accounts. Why are you on LinkedIn? I can't reach out to you. No one sees your profile, you know, so you want to make sure that you're visible. Creative ways to market yourself. This goes to some of things that I threw out there. Again, this social media, writing blogs, portfolios. I've seen people put together resume videos of themselves and actually put them on their LinkedIn profile. Associations is a great way, holding position on a particular board. Not only does that allow you to network, that makes you accessible and it positions you with a particular organization. Now they know you're the go-to person for XYZ. Personal websites, networking cards, events, and a lot of times you may see this and say, wow, you know, I may be out of work. I don't have the time or money to put into this. Believe it or not, a lot of this stuff that's on here is free. You know, you can get business cards free, you know, through Vistaprint and other networks now. Since Vistaprint's been out, it's, you know, probably a whole truckload of other companies that offer business cards absolutely free. All you do is pay for the shipping, and the shipping can be anywhere from $2.50 to $5. Personal websites now, I know that some people, if you don't want a custom build or you just want something just to get you ranked into Google, so if I type in a particular industry or a name, your name pops up with a website, you know, you can build a website for free. A lot of these free website builders, it takes a little bit of time. It's not going to be as fancy as a custom website, but it still gives you that online exposure you may be looking for, in addition to having a LinkedIn account. Social media, everyone knows that's all free. You know, putting the time into it, I really recommend people get a free account that actually distribute your post so you won't be tied to the hip to social media. That can be very time consuming. So find somewhere you can get your social media automated. Again, there are a lot of things out there, a lot of platforms out there that absolutely no cost to you. Buffer's one, TweetDeck's another, Hootsuite. I think it's another one. These are all places where I actually combine all your social media accounts and you can automate the whole process. Associations and industry-related organizations, that may be the only thing that may have a cost tied to it, but it doesn't cost you to go to a couple of them. In some cases, some organizations welcome you and give you a discounted rate if you are a displaced employee. So you want to look into that as well. Some associations do understand that people want to be members and may not be able to pay their annual fee. And I've seen some fees range from $50 to $200 a year to be a member. But if you let them know, hey, I'm currently unemployed, I'm looking, I've seen a lot of associations say, hey, we have a membership for that. You only pay 25%. You know, normally it costs $100, but since you're displaced, it's only $25 for you. You know, so make sure you're taking advantage of those discounts for people that may be out of work. You know, again, they may not broadcast on their website, but you do need to ask. Next one is selling a solution. Let me go back to that slide. Companies are in business to make money. How can you either make or save a potential company money or time? And that's what selling the solution is all about. And I've talked until I turned blue about people selling themselves, and that's all good. But at the end of the day, you know, I can hire you or I can hire someone else to save my company time and to make my company money. Doesn't have to be you. You know, I'm looking for the value. That's what I'm going to hire. I'm going to hire the solution, not so much the person. You know, again, you still want to come across as a likable person. You still want to come across as a person that's going to be highly engaged, you know, and someone that you can get along with, a person that's, you know, that they can interact with and get along with. At the end of the day, I'm hiring for solutions. So you want to make sure that you're selling a solution, and you want to be specific about that. You want to come across as an expert, and you want to emphasize past solutions as well, which means that anything that you've implemented with past organizations. I've talked about the 369-month plan, also known as the 30-69-month plan, which I thought was unrealistic. So I think a 369-month plan is more realistic. You want to answer the question how, which means that don't just tell me you increased sales or don't just tell me you did X, Y, Z. I want you to tell me how you did it. That's what's going to make that solution real. So that's something that you want to look at as well. You want to get uncomfortable. I see a lot of people, especially that are out there as job seekers, they're very comfortable about their situation, either because they got a severance when they got laid off, and believe me, I work with some that, hey, I don't have to work for the next 6 or 8 months. You know, they're sitting pretty on a severance package. You know, you have some people that, you know, I'm getting unemployment, so I'm sitting pretty on unemployment. You know, so you want to get uncomfortable. You don't want to wait until the last minute to start searching, because again, your job search can take a very long time. So you want to get ahead of it. You want to embrace something that you may not be comfortable with doing, which means reaching out to people that you normally wouldn't reach out to. Picking up the phone, you know, bridging that gap between communication. Answering the answer no to produce more leads. So that means use that answer no to ask for leads. You know, some people aren't comfortable doing that. Once they hear that no, they're like, okay, thank you for your time. What are you thanking them for? Thank you for their time for what? They didn't do anything. Ask them for a lead, then thank them. You know, so you want to make sure that you're getting something out of it, even if it is a no. You know, ask for referrals. You know, this goes for your references too. The people that wrote you recommendations or referred you for a job and say you got that no after the referral, ask them from other referrals. Ask them for other people that they can lead you to. So you want to make sure that you're getting uncomfortable. And again, everything that I said is not something that everyone jumps to do, because it's the unknown. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know how I'm going to be perceived if I just call them, you know, out the blue. You know, but you're going to have to get over that, because now you're looking out for yourself and you're looking out for your well-being. So you want to make sure that you're going to get past being comfortable and you're going to get out of your comfort zone and do some of the things that you wouldn't normally do to generate results. Closing the deal. Closing the deal doesn't always refer to knowing the best rebuttal. Sometimes it means knowing when to walk away. And I've talked about this before. When you close the deal, you know what to ask. You show engagement. You want to be seen as a consultant. You want to be proactive, and you want to leverage technology. You want to be ready to answer anything about salary, employment gaps, or counteroffers. So if you're someone that's been out of work for a while, or you're asking for an extremely high salary, you best believe you better have something in place and be ready to answer those questions. Because once you go, they ask you and you look like a deer in headlights, they got you. Because now they're going to say, well, this person doesn't even believe what they told me they wanted. You know, they don't believe in it. So why should I? Why should I honor their request? And they can't even believe they asked for it. So you want to make sure that you're giving out some realistic requests. And even if you think it's off the charts, but you deserve it, you best have an answer to back that up. Next thing is get confirmation. Whenever you talk to someone, whether it's an interview, even in a networking event, get some type of call to action. You know, hey, when's the next time we can connect? Or when would be the, you know, in some cases, when's the best time to connect for the first time? You know, if you're in an interview, ask for the length of the process. Don't be shy about this. How long is this going to take? You want to let them know that your time is valuable as well. Not because you want to be cocky, but you want to know because you want to put other things in a pipeline. You don't want to sit around just waiting for this to come through. You want to put other things in there as well. You know, have a follow-up plan in place. All this is going to get you to that yes or no quicker. So that's one thing that you want to do. And sometimes you're going to get that yes or no indirectly, but just asking those two questions and following up will give you what you need to know. You know, even if it's nothing. You know, and a lot of people say, well, I don't hear anything back when I follow up. Well, that lets you know something. You know, silence is an answer. People don't realize that, but hey, no communication is an answer. You know, so that lets you know what you need to do next. You know, and closing the deal, again, that goes to following up, sending thank you cards. That requires a stamp, not just the email. In some cases, if you actually had a face-to-face, you want to send something tangible. Don't become a stalker, and that can happen too, especially if you've gone to the second and third round of interviews. Not so much the first, but there's some people that, you know, they made it through the first round, they're going to the second round, they made it through the second round, they're going to the third round, and then nothing. After the third round, they don't hear anything. You know, that, and at that time, you have invested quite a bit of time with this organization, so I can understand your anxiety. But at the same time, in the same breath, you don't want to become over anxious and you don't want to become a stalker, which means that you're still going to do the three, I call it the three strikes. You're still going to, you know, send that email. You're still going to pick up that phone. You're still going to reach out in other ways through LinkedIn or other type of technical means that you can to get feedback on where you are in the process. And then after that, the ball's in their court. You know, after you've reached out or did some type of form of communication 3 times, you know, they got your question or they got your email. Now it becomes not only a waiting game, but it also allows you to know, okay, what do I do next? And if you're not getting feedback, and I've seen companies that after the last or the third interview, they may not hear anything back for a month, and all of a sudden they're called with an offer on the table. You know, or they may, hey, I interviewed in February, or I interviewed in January, and they'll get an offer in March or April. And they say, well, I haven't heard from you in a month or two, and all of a sudden they call me with an offer. You know, unfortunately, these bigger organizations, it may take that long. Again, I'm not you know, vouching for their inconsideration for not at least providing feedback or at least sending a, hey, we still have your resume, we're still considering you. You know, again, I'm not vouching for them not doing that, but in the same breath, you also need to know when to move on as well, which means that, yeah, I'll still keep this particular position I've interviewed in the back burner, but I'm also going to start moving towards other positions as well and welcoming those. Because I've had people, and I've worked with clients that after a month or two, they don't hear anything, and you reach out to that same person, and hey, so-and-so, hey, you know, they're ready to move forward, and I've had it happen. I've already offered, you know, I've already got a job, or I've already took another offer. I've had people do that, you know, and that lets me know, hey, that wasn't the only company in their pipeline. They had other things in the process why they were waiting for this, and unfortunately, it didn't come through for them, so they took something else. You know, I've actually had that happened to people or companies I work for, that they reached out and, hey, thanks for the offer, but I've been employed for a month now. I've got an offer somewhere else last month. And they moved on. So you also need to know when to do that as well. So we're about a quarter till, and I wanted to open the lines up for any questions that you may have. So you may ask me anything. And at the end of the day, when we do log off of here, tell me what you think. There's a Q&A, not Q&A, but a survey that you may use. It's about 8 questions to ask you, pretty much how was the workshop, anything that we can do to better it, topics that you'd like to know about in the future, or what you'd like us to entertain in the future, any questions that may have not been answered. This is my contact information. bbaggett@career-innovate.com is my email. That's probably the best form to get into contact with me, or you can give me a call and leave a message. If you want to book an appointment, go online and actually schedule an appointment to talk. That's another way to get in contact with me as well. So those are 3 methods that you can reach out to me. Regardless, we're on social media everywhere. Connect with us on LinkedIn, Twitter. We have our Facebook. That way you can stay up to date on anything that we may do, any workshops we may be having. And again, I'm working right now by the summer to have a lot of these, because I did get a lot of requests from the surveys that people wanted individual workshops that were tailored around a particular topic. One was about resume writing, one was about marketing. So I had workshops that I'm putting together. They're going to be on demand, which means that I know there are people out there that, hey, I can't log on, X amount of days to hear this, and they want to be able to listen to this at their leisure. So I'm making these on demand that will be on the site, and I'll actually give you the date when I'll do that, so you can actually go to the website and listen to it at your own time, and it'll be tailored around some of the topics that you put in the survey. So I'm going to open up the lines. If there's any questions, please raise your hand and I will unmute your line, or you can type your question at the bottom and I will answer your question there. I do like to leave at least about 10 to 15 minutes open for questions that may not have been submitted. And again, because of the holidays, I knew that coming back, that many people may not have been either going to be logged on to the Q&A sessions, or they didn't send questions in. And this usually happens around any type of major holiday. So I understand why we didn't get too many questions this session, but like I tell people, unless the Monday falls on a holiday, we always do the session. So questions or not, I'll put something together, because I do want to make this available for people that later on down the week may not have been able to log in, but can at least retrieve it through our YouTube channel. Okay, I'm going to see. I don't see any questions. See if I see anybody's hands raised. I don't see any hands raised. So hopefully I was able to cover anything and everything that you're looking for. And again, if something comes across your mind after we log off, or even later on in the week, definitely shoot me an email and I'd be more than happy to reply back. If not, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night at 10 till. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great night. See you Monday. We do this every Monday from 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.